Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be going over who the best Young Link player in the world is, because there is so many reps of this character at a super top level, but a lot of the top Young Link players just don't go to a lot of stuff, so it's really hard to rank who is the best, but we're going to try to do that today. We're going to be going over 5 Young Link players that I think have really stood out from the rest and I think could break away in 2023. But before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out to Felker, because he is just amazing on the up and up right now for sure. This really good 17th at King of Fields with wins on Longo, Ramses, and Astral. I think he was ranked around 70 on Orion ranking, 76 range for all of Europe, which is pretty impressive. 33rd at Wanted as well, and at 49th at UFA. It's like he's starting to get these really strong performances. He's getting some good wins along the way. I think Falker has a ton of potential to pop off in 2023, but now onto the Big Five. Also want to give a shout out to Draver, because he is another incredible Young Link player from Europe. He has the 65th at Wanted, which isn't amazing, but then he also has this 25th at Colossal, which is really strong. Wins on Jaka, Eco, Pew. Like, that's an amazing run, and I think a lot of Young Link players, again, they're having these incredible runs, but the ones that can be consistent are straying away. So I think for now, Draver isn't quite in the conversation yet, but if he has more runs like this Colossal one, which I definitely think he can do, because he was schmoving at that tournament to get 25th, like, that's super impressive. I think we could see Draver appear in like more top 8s in EU tournaments. Like, all the EU Young Links are just incredible. So the first player we're going to talk about is going to be Jay Dizzle, who's had a couple of his best performances recently. This 25th at Genesis 9 is really strong. Wins on Gact, Omega, Super Berry, and JDV, as well as other players. Like, that's super impressive. As well as this 33rd at Umabora SP9, got a win on level 1 there. Like, 25th and 33rd at 2 super majors in a row is really promising. 49th at main stage as well, and his losses are Ouch and Quinn, like, not that bad. 17th at boss battle, got a win on Sintro there. Like, he's just super consistent. Also, 3rd at Phantom's pretty good, got wins on Extra, DD. Those are some of Australia's best. Only lost to Neotono and DD as well, like, not bad losses. Bam won the whole thing. That's one of Australia's biggest tournaments. Like, Jay Dizzle is just such an incredible player, and he's starting to pick up a lot of consistency as he goes to the US more and more. I think the first time we saw him was at Smash World Tour, and the improvements that he's made since he's been here is like evident. He has clearly gotten like so much better as a player. He's gotten a lot of progress. Even at the start of the year, the 17th at Let's Make Big Moves, like start of last year, the 17th at Let's Make Big Moves is super impressive. Like, Jay Dizzle is just an absolutely amazing player, and I think we're gonna see him have his breakout run soon. And the next player we're going to talk about is going to be Toast, who's probably had the best result a Youngling player's ever had, just in terms of the wins he got at CEO 2022, where he ended up getting 3rd place and wins on Tweak, Aaron, Sonics, Choco Taco, and Don Quavius. Like, those are all incredible players, only losing to Riddles and Sonics in the run back. And then he also had his Frostbite. Like, I know this is like a while ago, but his run at Frostbite 2020 was so impressive. Got wins on Light, Samsora, Kameme, Rafi X, Ralphie, like Rocky. These are all nutty players. Like, Light and Samsora are both top 10 at the time. Kameme around that top 10 range as well. Like, this is such an insane run. But that's the thing with Toast. Sometimes he has these really hit runs, like those runs that we talked about. But sometimes he's getting like 129th at SmashCon, 65th at Let's Make Big Moves. And granted, those are some of the biggest events of the year. You're going to have a lot of stacked talent there. Like, at Let's Make Big Moves, he lost to C and Leon. Not even terrible losses. But then you have tournaments like Riptide, where he's doing in the middle. He gets a win on Doorstop. 13th is pretty good. So Toast has these super high highs, but these pretty low lows as well. So if he can figure out a thing with consistency, where he can always be playing at his peak, or be playing at his peak most of the time, he could be like a super prominent top 30, maybe even higher threat. Because his highs are incredible. He's able to beat some of the best in the world. Up next is Suinoko, who is the best Young Link player in Japan and has had some really impressive performances. One of his best ones being at Wave 1, where he got 5th place there and wins on Neotono. He also has 25th at Kagura B7, wins on Chicken and Sylph, as well as other players. And this really recent 33rd at Umabora SP9 on wins on Alice and AC. This is like one of Japan's biggest ever tournaments, so a 33rd here. Really impressive. 65th at Genesis as well. Again, Genesis was incredibly stacked, so getting a 65th there is pretty good. He also has some low performances, though, like this 97th at Subageki 12 and this 97th at Meisuma top 7. But I'd say more than not, he's getting around like that 33rd to 25 range, maybe a couple lows in between 33rds as well. But he's like a really good player, has shown really strong signs of life, and I think has a ton of potential going into 2023 if he just keeps traveling to more stuff out of region, maybe even just goes to more majors in Japan, because he doesn't have a crazy amount of stuff, he could definitely rise like a lot and be in the title for that best youngling. Our next player is going to be Skittles, who also has these insane highs as well as being one of the most consistent youngling players. His only bad performance is going to be this 97th at SmashCon, where he still did get a win on Danby, so like not the end of the world. I guess you could argue this 33rd at MomoCon isn't super strong as well, but he did get a 9th at Back in Blood 5, got wins on Frog, Captain Alex Xavier. Riptide has one of his best performances, getting 5th place here. Wins on PK Chris, Dark Wizzy, Quinn, Grape, and Luis. Rise and Grind gets a 9th place there. Wins on Base Mage, Burr, Yawning, and Chunky Kong. And then we talked about the SmashCon run already, but then he has these really strong regionals where he has this like first at Level Up Arena 4, wins on Zomba twice, Send, Loaf, Stroder, and Shu. He has a 13th place at Back in Blood 3, wins on Karama, but one of his best runs of all time is this 8th place at Genesis, wins on Peckham, Etourier. Like, those are really strong. Only losses are to Spargo and Orion, and he got 17th. Like, Skittles just has these insane runs sometimes, but when he doesn't have the runs, he still doesn't do too bad. Like, he's getting around this 33rd range. Sometimes he's getting like 17th or 25th or something. Like, Skittles is really consistent, and he also has these very strong peaks. And the final player that we're going to be talking about is going to be Super Semi, who has some of the best performances at majors out of all the younglings, but he's only been to 2 majors. He got 9th place at both of them, Temple, Hermes Edition, and Ultimate 1 and 4. Got good wins at both events. He got wins on Modzai, Mezcal, Squirrel World, OG at Temple, and then at Ultimate 1, he got wins on Troped, Ramses, Leon, and Griffith. By the way, Leon just had an insane Genesis. It's EU Leon. He had an insane Genesis, so that stock is going up. DreamHack Rotterdam is also really strong, has wins on Paint, Empel, Reed, Tarek, Leon, and Tilde. At Boss Battle, he gets wins on Space and Tarek again. Got a win on Orion at the Ultimate Performance. Like, he's getting a bunch of good wins at every tournament he's going to, and he's consistently doing well. He hasn't really had a bad performance yet. This worst one would be the Smashing Future, where he got 17th, but again, it's like a smaller tournament, regional, maybe less focus. I don't really know, but still, he is amazing. He's very, very consistent, and I think if we just see him go to more stuff, he's going to become like a super top threat in Europe. Like, he's going to be top 8ing every tournament he goes to. Maybe we see him in NA, he could have a massive level up. Like, I think Super Semi just has so much potential, and he barely goes to anything, so I hope we get to see more of him in 2023. So now we have the 5 Youngling players, and we're going to be eliminating 2 of them. I split them up into 3 tiers as well. We have the high highs of Toast, where he has some of the best wins among the Youngling players. We have both, where you're being consistent, and you have the high highs, and then spoiler, you have consistent, where you have players that are just like always getting these really consistent 65th, 49th, 33rd runs, but they're not ever making it like to that top 8 area. So I think all these players have potential in every single one of these strengths. This is just what we've shown so far, and we're going to be eliminating Suinoko and Super Semi. Suinoko just because he doesn't have enough insane wins compared to some of the other players, as well as having some really low lows. And then Super Semi, the only reason for him is like he just doesn't have as many opportunities, because in EU the wins aren't as good, but he has some really strong wins. I think the players above him just have more strong wins, but also they've been to more stuff. So I really think if we see Super Semi going to more things consistently, he will take that best title as Young Link, and maybe people have him considered as the best Young Link already. I could honestly see it because he is absolutely crazy, but we're going to be eliminating him, having it nice and clean, everyone in one category of Toast, Skittles, and J-Dizzle. And if we look at the Orion ranking, we actually have Skittles at 59th and Toast at 88th, and that's for the entirety of NA. But then for the entirety of the world, you have J-Dizzle, who is top 100, 100 specifically, but like, you know, top 100 does sound a little bit cleaner, as well as being number 1 in Australia, which is something to consider. Australia's gotten a lot better as a region recently, and like, that's pretty good title to hold. So even though J-Dizzle is ranked higher than Skittles and Toast on Orion ranking, something to be considered is that Skittles and Toast, the biggest weaknesses about them as players is they just don't really have a lot of events under the belt. We don't have as much data about them to see if they're consistent or not. And for Orion ranking, if you don't have a ton of events, you're going to get dinged for that a lot, because it heavily values players that show consistency by going to a lot of events. And J-Dizzle has a ton of stuff where he is doing pretty well. So even though he might not have the highs of Toast and Skittle, he is having more consistent tournaments overall. So that is why he is ranked higher, as well as just having some really good breakout runs this season. But I thought that was something that should be brought up back to whatever I was saying. And the first player that I'm actually going to eliminate is going to be J-Dizzle. Even though I agree right now he should be ranked the highest Young Link, I just think the players above him, their highs are really, really strong, and we just don't see a ton of them. I think J-Dizzle is an incredible player, and he's gotten noticeably better as he's traveled to NA and EU more throughout the year. Like, his placements have definitely started to go up, and I think he has a lot of potential in the future. Like, again, this 25th at SmashCon, or rather Genesis 9, is super impressive. That Gackwin especially is very, very strong. So I think J-Dizzle Hazel could take that title or might honestly hold it right now because, again, he is so consistent. I just really value the highs of Toast and Skittles. And the final player that we're going to be eliminating is going to be Toast. But I think Toast highs, it cannot be understated how incredible they are. Like, his performance at CEO is unreal. Sonic's and Tweak wins are really strong. He also beat Salt 1 at Collision. Like, he had a really good Riptide. Like, he has shown these incredible highs that we saw 3 years ago at Frostbite, which is something that's really impressive to be able to do that multiple times. And again, that Frostbite run especially, it just shows, like, these are the things he can accomplish as a player. He can beat these, like, super top 10 players, and he's done it again recently with, like, Tweak and Sonics. Those are both top 10 players now. Incredible wins, but he also does have some inconsistent performances like this 129th at SmashCon, and Skittles just has more results, which I think is holding Toast the most. If Toast just went to more stuff, he would be, like, almost easily the best young league player in the world, but you can also say that about Super Semi. You could say that about Skittles as well. Like, these young league players, if they just go to more things, they are going to be dominant. And I do think Toast is probably the best example of that. Like, again, for like the 30th time, oh my god, this CEO run is just so impressive. So I think if we see more out of Toast, I could 100% see him taking not only a top 50 spot in NA or in the entire world, but also being the best young league in the world. But for now, I'm going to give it up to Skittles. And I give the win to Skittles because, one, he is crazy. He has these similar highs to Toast with like this 5th at Riptide with really good wins. He doesn't have quite the wins that Toast has, but he still has wins on Luis. He has wins on Zomba, wins on Karama. Those are all really, really strong. A Tourney as well. That win's going to go up in stock for sure. And he just has these really consistent performances as well. I think the regionals are really helping him out because it just gets to show like more data out there showing these consistent performances. But honestly, if you think any of these young league players are the best in the world, I could totally see the argument for it. Like, the player base is so close right now. The level of Smash, again, is getting smaller and smaller every time a major happens. Like, more and more people are sneaking into that top 65, which is like, not actually, but like more top players that we haven't seen getting top 65 are sneaking in, which is just super sick to see. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm curious on who you have as your best young link. Maybe you think it's Toast and Super Semi. They just need to prove themselves more. Maybe you think it's J Diesel because of his consistency. Maybe you think Suinoka is a hidden weapon. Maybe it's one of the honorable mentions. Maybe it's someone I didn't even mention. If there's a young link player that I just straight up forgot about, I'm really sorry, but please let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed. Sport's been absolutely unreal lately. Sorry this video was a bit more mumbly, but like, hey, I like talking about character specialists. If you guys have any other ideas, please let me know down below, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.